Hi there guys, welcome to the DrivingMaul review of the New Zealand Conference in Super Rugby 2016. The top four sides all ended up with 11 wins, and it was only bonus points that separated them. The only other team in the competition to get 11 wins were the Lions. So clearly this was the top conference and the most competitive, and deserved to get four teams into the playoffs. Top of the group came the Hurricanes. After a shocking start to the season of losing their opening two games, including by 42 points to the Brumbies, they pulled things around to peak at exactly the right time. They were worthy champions with their last loss back on the 7th of May away to the Sharks, and then also they've been through the entire playoffs without conceding a try, which is absolutely amazing, even in the foul weather that they had down in Wellington. Having survived the loss of Nonu and Smith, next season we'll also see them without the long-term star Corey Jane as he moves to Japan. But I still think they should be strong next year, as long as rumours that their coaches might move on are unfounded. They should, and they'll be looking at heading back into the playoffs and doing some damage again next season. Next up were the reigning champions, the Highlanders. It was another good season for them, but having their end-of-year tour in rounds 15 and 16 really didn't help them at all when it came to the playoffs, because all that travel and then having to play away in the semi-final the quarter-final and semi-final as well really meant that by the time they got to play the Lions, they were out on their feet. I'm not saying that they would have beaten the Lions, but it would definitely have been closer. When you look at their regular season, they only lost 4 games, just like the other two teams. But 2 of those losses were by 1 point, and 1 game by 2 points. The final one was by 7 points. So they could have gone undefeated. It was a very good season for them. So now we have to see what they can do next season. I think from a squad point of view, they are staying pretty much together, but they do have the change of coaches. Also, knowing that the coach is only around for 1 season is going to be strange. So we'll have to see how they cope with that kind of disruption. Next up came the Chiefs, who had some amazing counter-attacking play, and with Damien McKenzie really making a name for himself in Super Rugby. Perhaps they had a little bit of trouble against some of the top defences when you look at who they lost to, losing to the Highlanders twice, who are a team that are quite happy to defend. The Canes, who we just talked about, not giving up a try in 3 playoff games, and then also the Lions. But they coped amazingly well with the loss of something like a third of their squad in the off-season. And with Dave Rennie back again next season, you can think that they'll be there or thereabouts once again. The Crusaders had a surprisingly good season, really, after the loss of a lot of their experienced players. I, for one, was one that thought they would struggle this season in a bit of a transition year, but they have gone very well. Perhaps they reinforced a bit of a flat track bully image, having during the regular season they didn't lose to a non-New Zealand side, but they did lose to the Highlanders, or they didn't manage to beat the Highlanders, Hurricanes or Chiefs in that time. So 3 of the top teams. The only time they did lose to a non-New Zealand side was in the quarterfinals to the Lions. Next season sees the departure of Blackadder and Nadolo amongst others. So there is definitely going to be a bit of rebuilding, a bit of restructuring next season. So maybe not back up at this level. Their incoming coach has been coaching the Baby Blacks, so he does know the next generation of players coming through well, and that'll put him in good stead. Finally, at the bottom, it was the Blues in a much improved season under Tanner, and with victories over the Highlanders and Sharks, but most famously over the top 2 Australian teams in the last 2 weekends of the season, with the bottom New Zealand side beating the top 2 Australian ones. They were a bit too inconsistent, really, especially with performances like they had against the Lions over in South Africa. I'm not saying they would have won that game, but they weren't even competitive. And Tanner was very disappointed with the attitude of the team there. So there is plenty of things to work on, even though the feel-good factor is back at Eden Park. And you can see that with some of the signings for next season. including obviously Sonny Bill Williams coming in to the side. They were the last team in New Zealand, but that is no disgrace, like it is in the other conferences. In reality, they were part of a small sort of mid-table group, along with the Waratahs and the Bulls, who didn't quite make the playoffs, but they weren't automatic losers, like some of the other teams were lower down. So a better season, and we'll see how they get, and they should improve again next season. That makes it for a frighteningly competitive New Zealand conference next year. And so with the Crusaders in a bit of rebuilding, with the Highlanders also changing some of the coaching staff, we'll have to see how it goes. But I say it should be again the most competitive of the conferences. So thank you for watching that. I've done. Do check out my reviews of the other 3 conferences as well, and sign up below to my newsletter to get all my pieces and videos into your email box once a week. Thanks, guys.